Welcome to the Health Fix podcast, where Dr. Janine Krause, that's me, gives you, a health junkie, a weekly dose of tools to help you increase your energy and resilience to life's stressors. Hey, health junkies. On today's episode of the Health Fix, I have Sherry Fernandez. She is back on after her first episode with me, episode 252. Now, she's a speaker, a teacher, a mom, a mentor. She is an amazing gal and talks a ton about how you can achieve your infinite potential. And in fact, she has a book, Life Mastery, Personal Progression Toward an Infinite Potential. She's going to tell all about her rags to riches story in there. And she talks about all of her tools for success. And because she's been on before, I'm going to dive into this episode and talk more about our addiction to learning about improving ourselves, but never doing anything about it, and how you can set up some systems to really get progress over time. So if that sounds interesting to you, jump on into the podcast with Sherry and I. Hello there, health junkies. Welcome to another episode of The Health Fix. I'm your host, Dr. Janine Krause. And on today's episode, I have Sherry Fernandez back on, and we're going to be talking about her book, Life Mastery, Personal Progression Toward an Infinite Potential. But we're also going to be talking about why it is that we can get really fired up about developing our potential and all of these different development programs, books, etc. And then somehow, as if it didn't happen, we just do nothing. So, Sherry, welcome back to the Health Fix podcast.
Thank you, Janine. I'm happy to be back too. Always fun to chat with you.
It's going to be good. I think right now we're in a crucial time where folks are wanting to dive deeper into themselves, learn more about themselves, kind of that spiritual, emotional aspect of things. But we keep having our energy kind of squashed and I guess lowered. And we were talking before we jumped on about the media and how social media, but also just watching the news in general can really just ruin your day. And I stopped watching it years ago because I just was like, wow, I don't want to hear about another shooting and about more disaster and more terrible things. I'm like, why would I want to start my day off like that? So I just stopped. And you were saying you don't watch it at all.
I don't watch it at all. I'll try to catch a headline here or there if there's something. As I walk through the lobby of our building, some people get the newspaper and I'll glance at it and see if there's something going on. And I have an app, I have two of them actually, that filters news. So I want to find out what's going on. Of course, you can always Google anything, what's the latest news if you really want to know. But this is what I found, Janine. I travel a lot and I will be gone maybe 2 to 3 weeks at a time, no news at all, because you're far away in another foreign country. And I know that I go to the gym and so I always see the news is on at the gym. No sound, just the news. I don't know why they do that. But there's always these breaking news things going across the screen. And you think, oh, breaking news. I can be gone 3 weeks and then I'll say, well, when would happen when we're gone? And I didn't miss anything. But I know while I was gone, there's breaking news going across people's television all day long, but nothing really that affected my world at all. When we went to New Zealand and then to Australia, and it happened to be in 2000, the year of COVID, it was 2020, right? Yeah, 2020. And we got on the ship going to New Zealand, and it was in early March. The whole world shut down. I had a marvelous time. We had no idea. I got back and it was a ghost town. We live in downtown Boise, and it's busy streets, you could walk right down the middle of the road. It was the weirdest thing. The airplane was like from Australia to California was packed, but the one from California to Idaho, there was some crew, a couple of return missionaries and us. I mean, there was nobody on the plane. It was the weirdest thing. It's not that we didn't know what was going on exactly, sure, but I wasn't caught up in the drama. So if you don't know, you don't have to worry about it. You can't do anything about it anyway. If you don't know, I remember hearing Wayne Dyer speak years ago, and it was when the Challenger, not too long after the Challenger had exploded. He said he spoke that day. He said, I never watch the news 24 hours before I speak because it gets in my way. He said, so I got on with no bad feelings about the Challenger. He said, it still happened, but I was able to perform well because I didn't know about it. He said, I don't know why that would have gotten in my way that much, but he did hit for him. So I think there's a good point there. You don't need the news to do you. If you're busy trying to move forward, it just gets in your way. And I mentioned this to you earlier, I do think it's addictive. Sitting around, the news is deliberately whips up frenzy. They have to compete with the other news programs, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that frenzy is addictive. And then we wring our hands and we think the world's going downhill fast. And what are we going to do about it? And all that worry doesn't help us move forward.
No, it lowers our vibration. And really what I've been
Totally.
getting to a lot of folks, it's like, no, it's not that I don't care that there's a pandemic. It's not that I don't care that these things are happening. It's more like self-preservation. I need to keep my vibration high so I can take care of others. But there's also keeping your vibration high so that you can make progress towards your infinite potential.
Right. And that I think the thing with the news and keeping your own vibrations high, which is a good way to put it, is that's how I sort it out. If I can't do anything about it, then it's a little bit like burying your head in the sand. But if I can't do anything about it, then why shall I get caught up in it?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to do something about it, go do something about it. If you're not going to do anything about it, stop talking about it and go to work and do something that you can do something about. I've been asked on a lot of my interviews, what about COVID and what, how did that stop people from progressing? We all had to, wait it out. What was the secret there? Well, I saw a lot of people who flourished during COVID. They worked out and got in shape, or they started new businesses, or they changed their business to something more. Now it's better because they had to adapt to the changes. Those people who sat around and wrung their hands waiting for COVID to be over, those businesses, just like you do things the way they'd always done it, they didn't do very well, right? They didn't make it through COVID very well. But many people were innovative, and that's always the choices we have. It doesn't take COVID to make that choice. Every day we have the choice of letting the obstacles get in our way or figuring out new ways to move them, and we come out stronger at the other end. So that's and then the other thing about keeping your vibration strong, you said about people squashing, you got to have some good systems, right? Otherwise you get derailed real easy. So you're working on yourself. If you don't have good systems, you sort of, like you said, you get squashed, things get in your way, you don't know how to get around them. So that's a couple of my thoughts, I guess, on news and systems and personal development.
Well, let's talk about systems a little bit more, because we kind of ended our last podcast talking about, hey, get in touch with Sherry if you want to develop a system for your infinite potential. And we kind of left it at that. And we didn't kind of talk in detail about the benefit per se of systems and kind of running your life for kind of a system to adjust to different things. Because I think a lot of people will be like, oh, just one system.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that there's multiple systems.
There's multiple systems. There's the systems that I teach. Well, let me just back up a little bit to say that when I was 25 and I was trying to figure out, I wanted all this stuff that life has to offer, all of the spirituality, and then wanted a great body and I wanted kids. I told you this before. I wanted so much and I had nothing and no self-discipline at all. I was terribly undisciplined person. I started reading a lot of motivational things, a lot of educational things, finding answers, and I did find some really good help. I got really motivated. I saw what was possible, but what I didn't get was anybody to tell me how. I would end up frequently going to a seminar or reading something and say, yeah, but I know I'm okay, I get it, but wow, what do I do now? So this is one of the things that I offer that I think are really valuable, and some systems, and they're very simple. I'm very suspicious of complicated systems because they take more energy to run them than you're getting out of them. So very simple systems, and two for sure, because there's certain things that we do that can be tracked and measured. Did I work out today? This is a workout for me. I have to do da for workout. Did I do that today? Yes or no? Did I drink enough water? Yes or no? Did I make 10 sales calls like I said I would today? Yes or no? Did I walk so many steps? Whatever it is that you've got going on, these are things that you do and that you can measure. If you have a system, which I call a tracking sheet, which I developed when I was in my 20s, refined now, you just list those items you want to do every day or twice a week or whatever it is. And then you just check them off as you do them. If you only weren't required to do it that day, you put an X. If you were supposed to, you didn't do it, you leave it blank. You cannot believe how much your brain hates that, your ego, I don't know what it is, but hates that blank spot. So that's a really good system for teaching, for developing habits and things that we do. But what do you do if you want to be a better listener? You can't really track that. You get to your tracking sheet and you're like, well, I did pretty good. That one person on the train, I listened to them. It's hard to measure, but so then I like written affirmations. It's like affirmations on steroids, and you have certain things you want to become. I want to be a better listener. I want to laugh. I want to laugh. So you don't write it that way. You say, I laugh easily. Right now I'm a world-class listener. It's my new verbiage. I've been working on that one a long time. Maybe it's I'm kind. I respond. My husband wrote, I'm a patient man for years, and he is a patient man. He's already pretty patient. So, but those things can help us change who we are, both consciously and subconsciously. So those are two really good systems that work. And if you have the habit of using the systems, the other things just happen. If I have this good habit of using my systems, my workouts will happen, which means I'll meet my goal of being fit. If I keep on that, I laugh easily and often every day. Pretty soon I'll notice I'm laughing easily and often. It will just happen.
It's almost, we've heard about the mantra kind of thing and saying it into to reality, or however, folks want to put that. But I think there is something about saying what you want to become, what you want to be, what it is. And I just watched a movie last night called The Ultimate Gift. And it goes along with this guy who was saying, I'm going to be a billionaire. I'm going to be a billionaire. And he ends up being a billionaire. And so there is something about saying it into truth. And I think a lot of us, unfortunately, get stuck in saying the opposite of
truly
that kind of thing.
It's a problem. I like John Acuff's book called Soundtracks, and that's a good audio to listen to. But yeah, we have these. I thought I was a master of this. I'm the one that teaches. I've been teaching daily written affirmations for decades, and what we say to ourselves. But in listening to that, I picked up some soundtracks that I repeat in my mind about myself, and noticing those and eliminating them has increased my joy. So watching what's going on inside our head, the things we're saying to ourselves habitually, we don't even realize we're doing it. That can really get in our way of our success and our happiness.
Do you have your clients write them all out? Because I mean, our head, we have like thousands, tens of thousands of thoughts, if not millions a day. And I forget the exact data. But all these thoughts come in, they're intrusive. They come in and they say things. Do you have people write it out so they know like what, and then change it or do anything of that nature?
I don't do it that way particularly. What we do is maybe the reverse. First of all, we talk about it a lot. What are the fixed beliefs? Watch for them. What are your fixed beliefs, or what are your soundtracks? They're kind of similar, fixed beliefs and soundtracks.
Yeah.
And then let's put the opposite down on our daily written affirmations. And then those daily written affirmations, they are the bomb for change. We all know that saying good things is useful, but when we write it down, and then if you are a meditator or a prayer or just say it in the mirror, you say them out loud, that way that reinforces them. But the main thing is that writing them every day is much more powerful than just saying them. And so if I have a soundtrack that's maybe it's I'm depressed, but I hope you don't have that. I feel depressed. No. Well, what if I change it to say, I heard a lady say today that how'd she put it? God is joyful, so it's in our DNA to be joyful. So maybe I could put, it's in my DNA to be joyful, right? If that rings true to me. You have to have good language for yourself, but that will change it. Replacing that soundtrack will change it really fast. And just a lot of it's just being aware. Something, once you're aware of one, a lot of times you just let it go just by being aware that you have it.
I like that. I as you were saying that, it's like, it's in my DNA to be this. I'm like, I like that. That resonates. And you were saying that you and your husband were working on what your world class, I'm a world class listener. And I think for a lot of people, it comes out to be like, we think that we say this once and we're done. And it seems that it's kind of an evolution of what you're saying. To become your infinite potential, you have to evolve in what you say. Now, tell us a little bit about that. Have you had different versions of the world class listener over time?
Oh yeah, I've had a lot of them, because that's one that's really important to the work I do, right? I have to really listen and really listen. You too. I mean, you know this, right? You have to really listen to what's not being said and really focus. And so especially, I'm really good with clients, but then I think I've used it all with clients or something. I don't know. So I need to be better. But yeah, I'm an excellent listener. I listen. Sometimes I just write it like that. I'm a world-class listener. What is mother? So yes. What you have to do is you do it the same for a while. Then you have to change up the verbiage to kind of up your game, or to kind of freshen it up and change it. So world-class listener is one of my newer ones, but it's one of my favorite ones.
I'm putting change in my notes here. I'm putting change verbiage to up level.
Yeah. And find words that are really powerful. I'll share one of mine with one of my clients, but then I'll tell them, but find your language. And it doesn't even matter if the words make sense to somebody else. You don't care about that. If it makes sense to you, we always say this, right? That the meaning of words is in people. So a word might mean something to you. If it doesn't mean that to everybody else, who cares? It's your affirmation, right? If it speaks to you and makes you feel kind of powerful, that's what you're looking for. Nice, powerful language on those affirmations.
How many affirmations do you think someone can work with at a time? Because I've seen a lot of people write like a whole page and I'm going, I'm not going to remember all that.
That's, again, because you're writing them every day, and if you make them too long, first of all, the really good ones get lost in the shuffle.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're too short, it doesn't seem to be compelling enough to take the time to sit down and write them. So I like to work. I encourage my clients to go between 8 and 12. I'm right now have 11. And I kind of like odd numbers because we get in the trap of even numbers, right? 10, 12. So I'd go with even odd numbers. And, you know, back to that saying, you know, you said that about all these negative things that we say in our mind and how often we say them. So you said then once saying a positive one's not even close to enough to counteract all the negative ones. Even writing them every day and saying them is just a tiny little bit of pushback to all the negative ones that we say. I think it's more powerful to write them, and you're more conscious. You can use your conscious and your subconscious to work on these when you write them. So I think that's more powerful than just these automatic ones in your brain. But still, we can have a negative soundtrack that we might play 1,000 times a day. I mean, I don't know how many, hundreds at least. We could have one that's like that, that's constant. A good example, I think, it occurs to me is if someone feels like they weigh too much. I hate to say weight loss, but just for the sake of conversation. I hate the phrase because most of us, I want to be, they're not as lean. Let's say that I'm not as lean as I want to be. How many times, or I feel like I should be, and I don't like it. So how many times, not me, I'm as lean as I want to be, but a lot of people aren't, right? And I have not always been. So that's why I know this from personal experience. How many times do you think a person thinks about that? When they take a shower, when they put lotion on their body, when they get dressed, when they put on their seatbelt, when they have to take a chair, when they look at somebody else who's thinner than them. I mean, that soundtrack or negative thinking about your body and your weight when it's not where you want it to be, it could be 100 times in a day that you could feel bad, just briefly, little snippets of feeling bad about yourself. Mm-hmm. And of course, you can't just change. Now, let's just say this. You do have to change yourself. If you don't like it, you should change it, right? But beating yourself up all the time isn't helpful either. So you get on a program, you start making it better, and then get on a system, a habit. Now I work out every day. I've got my system, got everything in place. Now I know it's going to happen, so let it go. It's happening. I'm doing the best I can. I don't need to think about this anymore. Then you can say when those things, my seatbelt, hey, I'm working on it. And you can start letting those things go. Does that make sense? We can't just sit around and think, I'm just going to love myself the way I am. That's good, but it's not enough.
Right.
You have to actually do something.
Well, like I say to people, if you can say you love yourself the way you are, but if deep down you don't, what is, what's the point? You have to actually kind of come to Jesus moment with yourself, really, and be like, okay, yes, I can love myself, but if I'm not happy with where I am right now, and that is dependent on the weight, I've got to change. I've got to do something.
Got to do something about it. And it probably is because we should be working to be the best we can be. And if we're not, we're stagnant, and stagnant's unhappiness. I have in the book a little formula, and I'd like to share it if you don't mind.
Sure.
It's that's contentment plus progress equals happiness. So we do need to be content, if for no other reason than to know that we're worth it, to be better. But we can't, there's no status quo in the universe. We're living beings, and we're either growing in every aspect or we're backsliding. And we all know that when we're backsliding, we're unhappy. It's depression, stagnant. We're stuck. I don't feel good about where I'm stuck at my weight or my job or my relationship. That doesn't ever feel good. You can't love yourself and feel stuck. The best way to love yourself is to move forward. But you have to know you're worth it, to feel I am valuable. I deserve to be better. I deserve a gym membership and a lean body. I deserve to be independently wealthy. But then go do something. You don't just sit, demand it, stomp your foot and demand it.
Why
I hate that attitude. I deserve to be rich, and by darn, somebody should drop some money in my lap. You'd have to go do something.
There is that, and I think some people, going back to systems and going back to thought process, I think for a lot of people, there might be a lot of things that they want to change, and they might not know where to start. And,
Right.
and I think that's kind of another common thing that I hear from a lot of my patients. They're like, doc, but I have so many things going on. Where do I start? What do I begin with? What do you say to folks that say that? Because I'm sure
Yeah,
you've heard
because that's one thing stops a lot of people from going after more is they see it seems like such a chasm from where they are to where they want to be that it seems impossible. But human growth is slow. It's one step at a time. But that might seem like, oh, that's going to take forever. I don't want to do it that way. But developing habits is actually creates what a compound effect, that thing about a penny doubled every day. And like the end of the month, you'd have like $5 million, right? It's a compound effect of habits. So it actually speeds your growth up faster and faster and faster and faster as you develop really good habits. So once I develop one habit, maybe they have no habits at all. And I start with brushing my teeth. It's pretty low bar, but you got to start somewhere. So Just do that every day and get that down, put it on your tracking sheet. And then maybe you're like, I want to brush my teeth and I want to pray. Okay, then put that down on every morning. Can you put that on your tracking sheet? I want to brush my teeth and pray and work out every day, 5 days a week. We'll say that's enough. Okay, I want to do that. So you pick up one habit, then another habit, but your capacity grows. Now I'm going to pick up 2 more habits. I'm going to make 10 sales calls every day, or I'm going to see X number of patients every day, or I'm going to read to my children every night. See, you pick up more habits and you grow stronger and stronger, and pretty soon things start coming to you. That law of attraction, we attract, it gets misused a lot. We attract success by who we're becoming. I'm becoming a person of discipline. I'm leaner, fitter, stronger. I make sales calls. I read to my kids. I feel control of my life. And as I do that, I move towards my goals and my goals move towards me. So I hope that all makes sense and doesn't sound too mystical. It's really a nuts and bolts approach. I'm kind of go to pull up put your boots on, go to work kind of girl. And I think that's how you make things happen. But don't be so, if your listeners are in that place where they're thinking, I'm so far from the things I think I should be and want to be, just start with something. I promise you add one thing and another thing, and pretty soon you're going to find yourself those goals coming faster and faster and faster.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've seen it my clients all the time. 4 months, I can see somebody change from not having anything going to where they want to go to being on their way to their fortune or their own business. Or it doesn't take very long once you develop those habits.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you've got the habits. Now I would guess that in addition to the habits, there's an end game, right? So we have like where we're going, and we want folks to write that down as well. How do you incorporate that into the system? So you've got your systems that you're going to start gaining traction with. Do we have some sort of measurement or something for the end goal? How do you work with folks on that so that we know we're gaining these things? We know this is the end goal, but how do we track in between? How do we get from A to B? What is it? What happens in that sequence?
I'm so pleased you asked that, because I would have left people lost in the mundane of daily habits. I'm so happy that you said that. As far as our major goals concerned, I'm not a fan of SMART goals. They're too, and it's been proven that they actually people create less satisfaction in life from people. I'm a habit. I like the phrase BHAGs, or big, hairy, audacious goals, by Jim Collins. Really big, hairy, audacious goals. I want to be stinking ripped, lean, muscly. I got this vision of, I can't even describe it because it's so big. I get in this system, get this in my system. I know I can reach that by just doing this thing. But yeah, we got to keep an eye on. So I have clients do a couple of things. For their major goals, they're going to be really big. I want to be independently wealthy. And basically what that's going to feel like and look like. It's hard to describe because it's what I call an infinite goal. They're the best ones. Sometimes we have a finite goal, like run a marathon. That's are good too. But our major goals, what kind of cap do you want to put on your fitness or on your relationships? I want my relationships to be this good. No, you want to be as good as they can be. You want to be ultimately romantic, sexy, companionable marriage, right? You can't even hardly define it. You just know it, how it wants to feel. That's the kind of goals we want to look for the most part. There's finite goals that are useful too. Now we just know if I do certain things, I can have that. If I spend X number of time in my relationship, if I make sure I have meaningful conversation, if I do certain things, if I treat my spouse a certain way, make changes in myself, I'll work towards that thing automatically, if that makes sense. The other thing I have my clients do is make what I call big dreams list. These are things you want to do, see, be, climb Mount Fuji, run a marathon. Those things get my clients dreaming big. And that also can keep our head in the game, because the day-to-day work is mundane. If you don't have a great big vision, it can be boring.
Yeah.
I hope everybody the world is so full and there are no limits. But you got to go to work.
I think that right now, going back to the media thing, I think a lot of people are looking at this and going, there are limits. We have limits. What do I do? How do I, but what about this? There's always but what about this, where the mind kind of goes, but what if this happens?
But what if?
Yeah.
Right. What if?
What do we do with those? What?
Yeah. What do we do? Well, you know what? I think it was Mark Twain said something like, I've lived a long life and I've had all these troubles. Most of them never came to pass. So we worry about what might happen. That's a waste of energy. We have to go about life. We're going to meet obstacles, and that's part of life. Like somebody said, we find a road that, with no obstacles, that probably doesn't go anywhere. Right? We're going to have obstacles. It's part of the thing. It should be part of actually kind of the fun. Now I'm going to get around this obstacle, right? How can I make this happen? I've got a sick child today, and I've got this commitment to work out 5 times a day. I'm calling dad and he can come and sit with the sick child for an hour while I go work out. Right? We find ways and that's a little example, but we find ways of COVID. Okay, I've got this obstacle. What can I do? I'm going to increase I own a restaurant. I can't sit customers in my restaurant as many. I know I'll increase my online orders and my delivery system. Right? You just find ways to work with it and don't worry about what might happen. Yeah. Because most things, and the things that do happen, we don't foresee. Look, who saw COVID coming, right? You couldn't have planned for that.
No, unless you believed some of the movies that were out in the 80s and 90s. And at that point, they were so long ago, we forgot about them. So
yeah, that's true.
It's tough. It's tough, and I think, one of the biggest factors that we see with a lot of folks, we've kind of talked about a little bit, is this addiction. We talked about addiction to media, but there's the addiction to being motivated, and we'll get started and we'll start a tracking program and we'll start with our goals, and then mind, life, and thoughts just keep inundating. What are some of the things that you've done over the years? Because granted, we're all human, right? We have these things that really will sometimes just keep knocking at the door a little bit harder. And you're like, oh, I can't get out of this thought. What are some of the things that you recommend and you've done yourself to really push, I call the demons away, to try to keep you on target and going forward?
I have a list of little phrases in the book that I use, finishing is a life skill, staying strong in the middle is a life skill. You can always do more than you think you can. And those are listed in the book. So those are actual phrases from my life, because I had 6 children and we had a business and they were all in sports and dance and all of those kind of things. And I've been PTA president, and then I had my own business, and I've recreated myself a number of times. I take on a lot, and I do believe I can always do more than I think I can. I'm not a big fan of just say no. You do have to have boundaries. I mean, not that, but still, I can usually do more if I just organize better. So those are some things that I share with my clients, and they're in the book. You can read. I think there's 10 of those, 9 of those in the book. Probably an odd number. I think there's 9 of them that you can read. That I think that my clients use those. We put those on the walls at Fitmania, and my clients still repeat those back to me. I run into them, and they'll be like, "I still think about this one. I still think about this one." Then the other thing is just start. You get up in the morning, you think, "Oh my gosh, I've got so much to do." Get out your tracking sheet and start on the first item and just go do it. Those other to-do things will take care of themselves. Just start. And if you haven't done things for a while or you slip off, just start again and just start. Make the first step. And then it's a lot of things are like a workout you don't feel like doing. Once you start, that might be your best workout all week. You never know. You just start and things will kind of fall in place. But I do think taking successful people spend an inordinate amount of time and money on coaching and personal development. A good coach is a good idea. Help you getting started. You can't depend on one for forever. You've got to have to develop your own self-esteem. They're not a babysitter, but they can help you do well. And then you just take care of yourself first. It's like your oxygen mask, right? Your fitness, you're taking care of your body, you're taking care of your mind, you're taking care of your soul. You do that first, and then you take care of everybody else, and you'll have more to give.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. And honestly, I was mentioning I've made a move since we had talked last. I'm in Illinois now taking care of my dad, and part of it was, yes, he needed me, but I think I needed him just as much because I was in a point with my career and things where I had to put the oxygen mask on for a minute and slow it down. And these are things that, while they're hard decisions, you're like, in the end, when it's all said and done and the dust is settled, you won't regret taking care of yourself. And
Right.
that's something that I've, been preaching to my patients over and over again for years and years, is that a lot of times when we can't stay on track with something, when life is happening, when it's struggling, we do need to slow down and, like you had said, reorganize how things happen. I think for some of us, it's just slowing down to take the moment to do the reorganization.
Now, I think you said some smart things in there. There's two keys to that. Like, one is, if you don't have time to take care of yourself, you are doing too much. But I actually find most of the time it's an excuse not to take care of people. Do a lot of those things as an excuse not to do the things they should be doing to take care of themselves. So you need a reevaluation, like you said. The other thing I learned as a young mom, and so I've got 6 kids is a lot of kids. That means a lot of people looking for homework and shoes and things and needing you all the time. And I did train my kids. Between here and here, I'm busy. I've got an hour to myself. Don't bother me. I'm working out or whatever. I did train my kids. It's amazing how well they all fall into line that way. But if I could say I've got too much to do today, I mean, I just can't get to all the carpools and all the things and all the laundry and everybody and meet my appointments and do the classes. I was teaching some classes, do all the stuff and work out today. If I skip my workout or any of my things that were my personal development, I was just disappointed at the end of the day. And I didn't feel like I got anything more done at all. But if I put my things first, put me first, and took care of my basic needs for my own personal development, the day went better. And I wasn't disappointed at the end of the day. The laundry you can do tomorrow. The phone call you can do tomorrow. There's a lot of things you can do tomorrow, but you can't do today's workout tomorrow. You can't do today's prayer tomorrow. You can't do today's meditation tomorrow. Some things just have to be done every day. And the things for yourself are those things, those personal development things. And highly successful people, you look at it across the board, first thing in their morning, whatever their morning is, they do those things first before they do anything else. And that's the key to success.
It's definitely, I was taking notes here because of course I'm going to use them in my podcast notes, but I think it's said over and over again, the repetitive behaviors, like you had said, habits, systems, routines, but every morning starting it off and not leaving it to chance. It's just got to be part of you and how you operate.
That's true. If you leave it to chance, it will not happen. If you're leaving it to chance, it's because you don't really want it. Yeah. And that's a fact. If you are not taking care of it first thing, you're letting putting out fires and other people's problems get in your way. It's really, can be like sort of a badge of honor. Well, I've got all these other people to take care of. Nobody has more people to take care of than I did. Hardly anybody. That's not doing anybody any favors. For your children, for example, if you're not taking care of you first, what are you teaching them? I'll often say to mothers and fathers, if your son was your age and doing what you're doing to their body and to their life, you would not be happy. If your daughter grew up and put everybody first and she doesn't take care of herself, you would be mad at her for doing that. You have to show her or show your children how to live. I'm 66 years old. My children are pushing middle age. My oldest one's 46 and they're 31 to 46. I still get up every morning. I still live my life because I've got to show them what it's like to be 66.
Yeah.
Right. So I got to live my life in such a way that they can look to me and say, that's how you be 66. And next year I'll have to show them how to be 67. I'll probably eventually have to show them how you die with dignity. But that's my job, to set that example for them. They'll learn more from my example than they will from the things I preach to them.
Yeah.
And everybody else's children will do the same. And that can go for employees and a lot of other people who you're in your world. Teach them by your example, by taking care of you, and show them how it's done.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I think that's really important, leading by example. And part of why I chose to come take care of Dad too is, and myself as well, is things were getting out of control at my office. I was juggling because of COVID. I was working by myself and I had my assistants and folks virtually. So it's just me in the office, and it gets to be, it was too much. And I realized it, over time, but I was becoming very harried in the office, very frazzled. And that does no one any good when you get into that situation. And so, yeah, you have to be as an example. And I think a lot of parents really, this is going to sound maybe terrible, but this is why we have some issues
Oh, certainly.
right now in this day and age, is because we have parents that aren't leading by example. And I know folks could come back on me and be like, well, how dare you say that you don't have children? Well, yes, I do. In a way, all of my patients are my children of
Right.
sorts.
Yeah.
It's a different dynamic. Of course, they may be older than me, but the idea here is that it's all people who I take care of. And if I'm not taking care of myself, how is anyone else that I am educating going to take care of themselves? It doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. And how are you going to be your best to take care of them?
Yeah.
I was a much better mother for making sure that I worked out and that can you imagine it, the power in if I pray, which I'm a very big prayer, you probably saw I mentioned a couple of times, the power that comes into my life through prayer, through my own workout and making sure that my body is strong and healthy. And I got to work out my stress. A way better mother. So it's a lame excuse to say I don't have time to work out or take care of myself because of my children. And very few of your listeners will have more children than I did. And I did it. And I didn't miss workouts. And I did do those things faithfully. And 4 of my children are daughters. And guess what kind of powerful women they are? Yeah, because I taught them and they work out and they take care of themselves. They're good moms and they live their lives well. But at least they came out of the womb pretty much better than me anyway. But I do think that they took my example serious.
Absolutely. And I think the more it's repeated over and over again and it's integrated into their life, it's kind of like the concept. I used to teach cooking classes to parents for their kids, and the kids were in the class as well. And so it was a parent-kid cooking class. And it's like, there's kid junk food that you're feeding your kids because you consider it kid food. But reality is your kid will eat what you make. And if they have nothing else to eat, and if you're eating it over and over again, this is the example that you're leading for them. And if you're eating junk food, of course, they're going to want the junk food because that's what you showed them to eat.
That's what they learn. And you didn't do them any favors in that. Because then I see them when they're 30 in my gym. I don't have it anymore, but I saw a lot of those women or people, men and women, frustrated because my parents didn't teach me how to eat. I didn't know there was any other way than pizza and hamburger helper and McDonald's. And they're mad. They're angry that their parents didn't teach them how to eat. They thought that was just normal eating. I saw a lot of people like that and left their kids in a bad way.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a thing. And so everyone listening right now, you guys have some tools here, starting with what Sherry and I have talked about today. Now, you had mentioned coaching. And of course, I know that the book, of course, Life Mastery Progression, Personal Progression Towards an Infinite Potential, leads into the Life Mastery Program, which is coaching as well.
It's coaching, a little bit different, but yeah, it's coaching, different than the common verbiage of coaching, I think. You might have noticed there's an explosion of life coaching. The biggest difference in what I do and what I've got a few people that work with me too, that have been with me for a long time, who've also learned these skills and have been practicing them for a long time, which this is the difference in mentoring. We're not teaching things that we don't do. So if you mentor with me, you can be sure that everything in my book I do. I mean, I wouldn't put it in there. I was deliberate to make sure I didn't put anything in there to make me sound good. That if I do what's in the book, right? I do the things I teach my clients. And if I feel like I'm sliding a little bit, I got to get back in there because I know that people are looking to my example, right? So that's the difference between mentoring, I think, and why we call it mentoring. But yes, we have a program. I still mentor. I don't fill my life day end to end with mentoring, but I still take on clients, especially ones that are interesting to me. And I'll be doing that probably till I die. And I think I'm really good at it. My clients think I'm really good at it. Then we have some others that do it too. So it's Life Mastery Mentoring. And you can find out more information on that on the website, of course, lifemasteryinfo.com. And then Life Mastery is available on Amazon. And here's something new is the audiobook. We just finished up the audiobook and it should be out in a couple of weeks.
Very nice.
I'm really excited about that. I think it's really well done. The man who produced it produced albums for Dave Matthews. And so he's got a really good ear. And I'm reading it, but I have some this guy with this really nice voice. Mine's not so nice. This guy's really nice voice. He's reading the quotes because there's a gazillion of them, and the chapter and section headings. So I've got this deep, beautiful voice, male voice that's reading for me. So yeah, it's going to be really good. I think I'm really pleased with it.
Nice.
So that'll be available in a couple of weeks.
Very good to hear. Because back when we had recorded up the episode that you were on before, episode 252, you were mentioning that was going to happen. So there we go.
Finally, it took a while. It took a while to find the right person, and then it's been a longer process than I'd hoped. But
here we are.
Yep, here we are. It's out there.
So, Sherry, if there is someone out there that's listening right now, and we could leave them with one nugget to get them started in their journey towards infinite potential, what would you tell them today? As we're sitting here trying to avoid media, as we're trying to navigate this new world that we live in, what would you tell someone in terms of how to get started, how to work on taking the first step towards infinite potential?
I'd say, first of all, the little background on that, I'd just say the only way you can really make the world change the world is back to the news thing. The only difference you can make in the world is to change you. Your relationships, the world, anything impacts you on the world as you change you, and that has a ripple effect, and it will ripple out to the world. So start with one thing. Just start with one thing and commit to it for the rest of your life. Stop drinking Diet Coke or brush your teeth or something. Pick one habit, and then as soon as you've got it down, pick another. But start with little steps. Your confidence will grow by just starting. But pick something you can commit to for the rest of your life, and then start it. Just use a tracking sheet. Those tracking sheets are free on my website, lifemasteryinfo.com. Those tracking sheets are free. You can make your own, but why bother? You just download them and also there's an assessment that might give you some ideas on where to start too. That's also free on the website. But start with something. Just start. And they say the old Chinese proverb, journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. That's probably badly quoted, but
it gets the point across.
It's the point across. I should brush up on my quotes.
No judgment here. I think the biggest thing for many people is that we get lost in the minutia of how we're going to get there, and we're paralyzed by information. And we went to the seminars, we went to all of the courses, kind of like that, getting addicted to everything, but we don't take the step. We become paralyzed and don't move forward.
That's so true. I think that was what I was in danger of when I was young and trying to figure out. I was reading all the books, but I did push through and find a way to start. But yeah, you're right. We just listened to all the stuff, and you said another thing in there I thought was so smart. I guess I just go back to just picking the one thing and just starting with the one thing and not overthinking it. Oh, I know. So what it was, you said, we don't know where to start. Just start. And once your intention's really clear, like one wise man said, he said, every decision is 80% intention and 20% logistics, right? Once my intent is clear, the way will be clear. So just to make up your mind, and just make up your mind solidly, like forever. I'm going to do this one thing for forever, and I'm starting tomorrow. And even if it's just brushing your teeth.
Flossing. I mean, these are
big
things that, it's one step, and I think this is a good spot for folks to really focus on, because unfortunately in the healthcare world, I see it often, someone will come in, they'll get excited about multiple different things, and then they'll overthink it. And then they won't do anything because they didn't do it perfect, or they didn't have the right idea. And when we're looking at infinite potential and what we want to do with our life and future and careers and things, I think a lot of people are like, well, what if I choose the wrong thing? What if I start with the wrong thing? And in my mind, it's like, I don't think you can start with the wrong thing, because it's moving you. You're going to get there eventually.
You'll get better. Of course, to jump in and think you're going to be an expert at fitness just because you went to your first workout, of course your first workout's not going to be very good. You're going to learn things along the way. You'll probably even learn to brush your teeth better with time. You might change up for an electric toothbrush. Of course you'll get better. Whatever it is, you'll get better at it, but just start. and start. I know it's intimidating to go to the gym the first time or to go to a fitness program the first time, but just start. And you don't have to be the best. It's a journey, and it's unrealistic to think you're going to be great at something right out of the chute. Just start.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. And folks, if you're listening, you're still like, I don't really know. Let me give you an example of my own self. I started online with trying to get going online in 2013. We are now at 2021. And here I am finally getting my practice to be online. And I've been at it one step at a time, different directions since 2013. And I haven't given up. I keep going one step at a time, and it's the journey. And I'm getting more and more and more defined as I head through. And I think that's just the way we have to think about it.
Yeah. And you haven't arrived yet, have you? You're still learning. And I bet you wouldn't trade the journey either, because of all the things that you learned on the journey. And that's how it all is, whatever it is. And you mentioned earlier about changing up affirmations. We'll change up those daily things, will change up too. We just start. It's fun, and make it fun, challenge ourselves. It's not a dreary thing. It's an exciting journey.
I think that's the thing. It's about the journey, not necessarily, like people say, it's about the journey, not the destination, and really enjoying and embracing the journey. Unfortunately, too many folks will get caught in the minutia, get caught in the victim, mentality and things of that nature. And really, can I say that I've not been in any of those situations? No, heck yeah, I've been in all of them. And it's eventually when you start looking back at the journey, you're like, this is a pretty beautiful journey to where I'm headed, and all of the development over time, and never, the idea is never stop growing. Always keep working on
Never stop growing.
That's why it's limitless, infinite.
And the whole point of me writing Life Mastery is that it's personal progression that makes people happy. What do I want? I love everybody to be joyfully happy. How do you get there? It's growing, but it's the growing, not the arriving, because we don't ever arrive. I said all those goals are infinite, right? You're never going to arrive to that goal. So you have to, but joy comes in the first step forward. And I promise your listeners and anybody who wants to either up their game or take the first step forward, joy will come almost immediately in moving forward. Just the joy comes in the progress, as opposed to being depressed because we're stuck. Joy comes because we're moving forward, no matter how slow.
Sherry, that was well said. We got to end on that because it was just so good. I can't even top that. So folks, if you're wondering how to work with Sherry and to get her book, head over to lifemasteryinfo.com and you'll get all of the info there. You can even get the assessment and the downloads for the tracking sheets to get yourself started today. So Sherry, thank you so much for coming back on again today and providing so much more information to folks. I am certain we're going to get some folks taking the next step, hopefully right now.
I hope so. Thanks for having me, Janine. It's always a pleasure to visit with you, and good luck on your move and your practice and all the things you're doing.
Well, thank you. It's been quite the journey, and I'm just loving every bit of it.
Good.
Hey there, if you enjoyed this episode of The Health Fix, I bet you'd love to join us in our Facebook group, Find Your Health Fix, where we keep the conversation going from the podcast, but also talk all things health and how we can be athletes and healthy for life. So if you're interested in being on top of your A game, not taking pharmaceutical medications, and being healthy for life, come on over to Find Your Health Fix. We'll see you there.